Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
All right. Using
Convincing as always.
It's bad month. Well, we are using some new equipment. So, if the episode sounds better, it's the equipment, and if it sounds shit, I fucked up. So
it's the equipment.
No, it's not the equipment. I've tested the equipment. The equipment is really good. So it's definitely me if it sounds awful. It's bad. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Well, we're back to our what did we do last time? Oh, heavy metal. I had so much fun rewatching heavy metal.
Yeah, me too.
It's it is what it is, but it's so unashamedly that, and it's a slice of that childhood period of your life, and it was fun. It was good fun.
I'm glad it still holds up mostly. After...
Oh, the animation certainly. I love that style of animation.
Yeah.
And some of the stories are great. It's good fun. Anyway, we're back to our usual review fare now. Would you like to kick us off with a film?
I shall start with Babylon.
Babylon, go for it.
So this it's out on home view on Amazon now.
Yeah.
It's directed by Damien Chazelle, who previously did Whiplash and La La Land.
Mm-hmm.
Whiplash, great. La La Land, hated. But this it stars Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Diego Calva, and it's basically about the Hollywood transition from silent movies to sound.
Yeah.
But it's done in a very bawdy and hedonistic way.
Okay.
So it's you've got the sort of the three mains are Brad Pitt as Jack Conrad, Margot Robbie as Nellie Leroy, and Diego Calva as Manny Torres.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you've got Brad Pitt's Jack Conrad as the sort of established
theatre star.
Yeah, he's the big hero at the moment. He's the current big thing, and everybody loves him. And
making the awkward transition.
Yeah, he's great. And then you've got Margot Robbie. I keep saying.
I don't know why you're having problems with that word, that name today.
Really with the beats for some reason.
So you've got it stuck in your head now, and it's just like it's there. You've replaced it in your brain.
Margot Robbie's Nellie is the up and coming. I am a star. Sort of it girl who sort of just bursts on, and she's immediately like, wow, we need her, sort of thing. And you've got Diego Calva's Manny, who is this he's like a gopher basically. He's works for the studio, and he's just sort of getting things and moving things around. And basically, when you're introduced to him at the very beginning of the movie, he's delivering an elephant to a party.
Okay.
Where basically the film really starts at this massively debauched,
of course,
party where there's just naked people running around, people fucking everywhere, and women peeing on people, and
just
all defecating everywhere.
All the good times.
Yeah, it's completely over the top.
Yeah.
It's 3 hours long.
Jesus.
So I think a lot of people found it that.
Well, I don't find long movies a problem. But there just needs to be substance there to keep me for 3 hours. That's
for me. It zipped along. I think it was
excellent.
The 3 hours didn't bother me. When you get to the 2 hour point, because of the change in tone of the movie, I think some people lost it there. I think, and thought it sort of meandered away. But I didn't find that at all. I thought it was a seeing how everything starts to change, and the way you get these. Originally, you get these great things when they're on sort of this set in the middle of the desert, sort of, and there are like 5 or 6 movies being made at the same time on these tiny little stages, and but you've also got this great epic going on where
Right.
you've got like these huge crowds of extras basically waging war on each other, and basically people are literally getting killed.
Okay.
There's a bit where one of the extras basically is just, they find him on the floor with a spear through him, and they're like,
Holy shit.
He accidentally fell on it. It's like,
yeah, that yeah.
And obviously, it's the huge excesses of that sort of era and how the movies were done. How movies,
Do we get to see Brad Pitt, star of theatre, wildly overact as they did?
Yes.
Excellent. That's good.
Well, it's
because there was a really awkward period, but when sound first came in and people started coming off the stage into film, at first it was still very theatrical because there was no sound as well. So they overacted and continued to do their theatre on stage thing. But there's that awkward period where it's like, oh, now we've got sound and you're overacting horribly, and it's kind of it's endearing now. But I'm just curious as to whether they did that.
He's based on John Gilbert.
Okay.
In the 20s, and he was like the most the biggest paid star at the time, and even when his movies were tanking, he was still getting a lot of money.
Sure.
And he basically, became an alcoholic, and he, just
way of many of them, unfortunately.
And his thing is that he basically, his delivery was stilted, and his lines were like very, static. They were they didn't quite know how to deliver the lines like
for film, yeah.
For film. So you have all, you have these big sort of, and of course it's pre-code, so you've got all the all the sex and violence and drugs and all that sort of stuff. And then when you get sort of towards the sort of the last third of the movie, it's the Randolph Hearsts have started coming in, and the attitudes are changing, and the money men are beginning to take over, and they don't like the all the debauched stuff, and they're trying to get Nellie's character to sort of calm down and to act like a lady, and it's hilarious, the way they've done it, and you get this great sort of Jack Conrad's sort of confusion at when he turns up on set to this movie, and he sort of doesn't quite understand why it's not how it was. He can't quite get his head around it, and you can see his sort of weird confusion of well, this is not how we did it. This is just sort of just strikes me as wrong. But he sort of he troops on everywhere because he has this. His character has this, idea that he matters. He's
an important cog in the machine.
Yeah, and he matters to the little people. That he gives them something to aspire to, and all that sort of stuff. And, and Margot Robbie's character is like, I'm a star, and when she's with Manny, and he's like, oh no, you mean you want to be a star? And she's like, no, I'm a star.
Yeah,
it's like you either are or you're not, and I'm a star. And of course, she's got these she ends up with gambling problems and massive addiction problems, and it all spirals out for these people. And there's these sort of Manny becomes sort of like this. He becomes a sort of sound engineer, and then he becomes like a producer. But their careers are he sort of hit at the complete wrong time. He's hit at the right time because he's in a point where he's able to do those things, but it's a very short-lived thing, and it just sort of peaks and goes, down very, very quickly. It's really beautifully shot and beautifully directed. I think the soundtrack is really good. It's a very sort of beat-heavy jazz sort of soundtrack, which really works really well. I mean, technically, it sounds a little too synthy at times, but for what they're trying to do, I don't have a problem with it really.
I can always give some leeway to that kind of. I always draw the line, as I've said many a time before, when it's like a period epic or a fantasy movie, and you've got modern rockers. That for me is like, nope, get lost. I know, but outside of that, I can deal with a little bit.
There's one that always gets me, and it's it's the one that makes me think, I don't know why it works, but it works,
Okay.
and it's Plunkett and McLean.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a '90s soundtrack to it,
Yeah.
and for some reason
It just kind of works.
it works,
Mm.
and I kind of hate it, but it really works.
Yeah, there's always exceptions, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got a great supporting cast as well. There's like Gene Smart as this gossip columnist, and um, a number of other sort of just bits and bits. I mean, Flea's in it.
Right.
Troy Metcalf, who's this studio executive, and I think a lot of the sort of people seem are basically concentrate too much on the debauchery, and there is a lot of debauchery. I'm not gonna say it's not that bad, but I think they're failing to see the characters. I think this is one of my favourite Robbie performances. Is this hugely damaged woman who just wants to be a star, and her father played by oh blimey, what's his bloody name? Oh, that's so annoying. I can't even find it. Eric Roberts. Thank fuck's sake. Eric Roberts plays her father, who's just this sort of, he's an embarrassment, and he's talking. There's a scene where he keeps bringing up this. There's a time where I fought a snake, and of course they're all sort of laughing at him. And
I would love.
Margot Robbie's character's like, right, we're gonna go and fight a snake. So they all get out in their cars and they drive to the desert so they can find a bloody rattlesnake for her to fight.
Amazing.
And then when he doesn't do it, when he basically collapses, she's like, well, anybody else gonna do it? And it's like, well, fuck you all, I'll do it. And then there's this hilarious, again, the scene that unfolds is absolutely hilarious. I don't want to spoil it, but it's brilliant. I really enjoyed that. And there's another great sort of side character who's basically based on Anna Wong, who she's this sort of lesbian singer who has again is just in the right place at the right at that right period before it all before the codes come in and before the depression changes that attitudes and makes things a lot more conservative. And for me, I thought it was a really lovely. I actually thought it was a genuinely lovely sort of love letter to
that period.
That period.
Mm.
And yes, it's certainly challenging. Yes, it's it's kind of over the top. Yeah. But I think it's done with genuine love for that sort of period of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there's a great. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a great thing at the end. There's a great scene at the end where, with one of the characters, let's say, who ends up watching a film at the very end, and this is like years later.
Sure.
And I'm not going to give the film away or anything like that, but the film he's watching is basically, has stuff that he's lived, and it's just the whole sort of weight of it pushes down on him, and he starts crying, but then you get this beautiful sort of like this burst of cinema that you get shown, and it's like, oh, see this, and that's why it's a sort of love letter to it's this is what was birthed from this, and this is what was and the 3 hour running time, yes, it might be challenging for some people, but for me it certainly wasn't. It zipped along brilliantly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think long movies don't bother me. I always just worry whether it's necessary and whether you have enough to carry me through the 3 hours. If it's 3 hours of good stuff, I am there for it.
For me, it was. It's a very short period of time that they're focusing on.
Yeah,
and it's an intense period of time, and I think he does a really bloody good job of bringing it out. As I said, it looks absolutely beautiful, and I'm not the biggest Brad Pitt fan, but doing a really good job here. As
I
this,
like it. You're not the biggest fan of Brad Pitt. I think in the right role,
yes,
he's fantastic.
He can certainly bring it when he wants to. But I've just not been a massive fan. I mean, I can, things like Seven.
Yeah.
And even though Louis drives me insane, he is a great Louis, and so I think,
yeah. So films that kind of play off of his kind of asshole nature, work well for you.
And he's great. Is this, he's got this one friend who, I think he's an executive. I think he's an executive. Played by, is it Luke Hess, who was like the Lucas Hess, who was like, he was in Child Actor, he was in all, Witness and things like that, and he's like his best friend, and he there's this sort of run. It's almost like a running joke, is he keeps trying, not exactly. He keeps professing his love to these women, and when they like blow him out, he basically tries to commit suicide, and he's like, for the Brad Pitt character's just like, okay, I'll go and sort it out. Don't worry, it's fine. I'll talk him round. And their relationship is really, really good. It's a really sort of sweet relationship. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's great. And how that sort of ends up, and how you think this Conrad character is when he gets to the talkies. There's one thing I think there was one I will spoil. He gets this playing this military guy, and he's got this scene with this woman where he says he loves her and he kisses her, and when they're watching the rushes or when they're doing the editing, he's like, you can see he's dissatisfied, but the two guys around him are like, no, it's great, it's gonna be
just got yes men surrounding him. They're like, oh, it's perfect, boss. Yeah.
And he sort of turns up at this party, and people are like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's like, what the fuck is going on? Why do people keep asking me if I'm fucking okay? So of course he goes to the picture to see. Yeah. And he's there. He sort of sneaks in, and he's at the back of the picture, and he's watching, and he's at that moment where he's professing his love to this woman, and the audience just start laughing.
Oh dear.
And they're in hysterics, and it's like, you see his face. It's like, that's it. I'm fucked.
Time to become Tommy Wiseau. I did it on purpose. I'm a genius.
Yeah, I meant it that way.
Yep.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I think it's got some, really sort of nasty stuff and some really sort of over the top stuff. But
yeah,
for me, that was all part of it. It was, and sure, it's overblown and it's ridiculous, and at times ridiculous. But I think that was what the director was going for. I think I'm not saying watch this because it's a real, proper slice of what that time was like. It is and it isn't. It's trying to sort of do something with that and trying to show you, how it might have been, how certain, there are books like Hollywood Babylon that have told people about these parties and what happened. And, and people, there's just some great scenes when when they're first using the sort of the talkie equipment and stuff, and they're in this these little booths that they've built, and of course the guy who's on the sound, he's like trapped in this room, and they're like, he keeps coming out and going, look, if I don't fucking get out of here soon, I'm going to end up having a heart attack or something. Like, just fucking get back in there and do your fucking job. And it's funny, but it's also fucking hideous. And I think it does a very good job of doing that. But for me, it was very balanced. The hideousness and the funny was good. I think it's a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. And I would genuinely recommend it to anybody who enjoys a sort of a big sort of Hollywood sort of monstrous overblown movie, because it is that, and it's filled with absolutely great performances. I mean, Diego Calva as Manny I don't think I've seen him in anything before. I thought he was an amazing character. Amazing actor, amazing performance that he was giving.
Yeah.
And he really held, but between Robbie's sort of over the top nymph and Pitt's over the top actor, he's this sort of breachy, binding sort of character that sort of he's doing this and he's doing that and like he's sort of just there for the right thing and the right and he's just again he's wants to be part of this Hollywood legendary place, and I thought it was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, well, I will definitely check it out. It's a period of film history that I like as well. It's a fascinating period, so it's kind of got me on that.
It's a great little transition sort of period that was full of horrible times and interesting people and weird events, and it's just showed the genuine difference between how everything was on top of the world and then it all comes crashing down when when the depression happens and when the systems change.
Yes.
The money people changed, and there's been a number of times where that's happened, and it sort of seems to be happening that way right now as well. It's
yeah
in a different way, but
well, I will definitely be checking that out. I have not watched a lot. I am having a very bad month, to say the very least. And so I've been struggling to focus on much. I have watched two things. One of Picard, we'll get to it a bit, but one of those things was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always.
I did not know whether to give that a go or not.
Well, I am a fan of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was the right age. Was the right age. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I thought that might have actually been when I fell in love with Godzilla and stuff. Was like seeing, Super Sentai footage for the Power Rangers, and then kind of from there. My
brother was a huge Power Rangers fan, so I kind of watched it with him.
Yeah. So I was a big fan of it as a kid, and I was like, hey, this could be fun, and I needed some escapism, and I was like, hey, easy escapism. I'll give it a go. And obviously, this is a kind of love letter tribute to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the first of the American, Power Rangers.
In a list of almost thousands.
At this point, I mean, it's still going, right? It's probably the longest running show ever, I guess, maybe.
Is it?
Well, it's got to be up there, right? I mean, like, without having a break. Doctor Who took time off. Power Rangers has literally been consistent since, 93 or something?
Yeah, I suppose it has.
Yeah. It's literally not stopped. It's crazy.
And many different casts.
But I don't think they've ever had a break.
God,
because I remember thinking this when the movie came out. That they did a few, back in 2011 or something. I remember thinking, God, do people still watch it? Power Rangers, is that still a thing? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, it is. It's never stopped. It's still going today, which is kind of crazy to think about. It may not be the longest thing ever, but it's got to be up there. It has to be up there at this point. And of course, this is the 30th anniversary. So actually, this show's been around 30 years. It's been going for 30 years. This is a return to the original team as much as they could. And I think one of the biggest problems with this special is that it's just too many years too late, unfortunately. I can understand waiting for the 30th is a big anniversary. I feel like if they'd done it for the 20th, you would have had the full cast and it would have been great. Great fun. Here, obviously, you've had Jason David Frank committed suicide, sadly, last year.
Not that long ago.
No, not very long ago. I mean, he had refused to do this show anyway.
Oh, really?
So he was already not turning up to this. Well, according to him, because he's doing was doing Legend of the White Dragon, which is his adult Power Ranger thing with Bat and the Sun. And apparently the original script for this was so much of a rip-off of that concept, because I think originally they went to Saban or whoever owned Power Rangers to kind of pitch, hey, we could do like an adult Power Rangers show. And they were like, we're not interested in that. And then I think a few years later, according to some, the script comes and is like, hang on a minute, this is basically the thing I'm filming right now that you kind of said you didn't want to do. So he was already not coming. He is in it in some capacity, and we'll get to that. And then obviously the guy who played Jason, the original original American Red Ranger. If I'm talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, right? I'm not talking about Super Sentai. So don't shout at me in the comments. I know it's a thing. Austin St. John, that's his name. He got like done for a massive fraud or something last year. COVID relief funds.
Yeah.
And so he might be doing a long time in prison. So I don't think he is yet. I know obviously it's all not guilty yet, not until proven guilty. But I guess they didn't want to involve him for probably that reason.
They Trang died in a car accident.
She did, yeah. Twee Trang died in a car accident in the 90s. I want to say late 90s.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
So what they did here was they brought back as many of the original cast as they could, and then they added the later cast where to fill in the gaps, right?
Yeah.
So the show kind of opens with the original Power Ranger team. It starts with Billy, the Blue Ranger, and he's being attacked by Robo Rita. So Rita Repulsa is now a robot, and she's come back as a robot. And
I actually really like the design.
I love the design, and I think they mainly brought it back in robot form so that they could have Barbara Goodson, who did the original voice of Rita, do the voice again, and she does a great job. She's like, slips straight back into that role, because obviously she did the voiceover of the original actress in the Super Sentai footage, right? So So basically, Billy's fighting off the putties and Rita, and then the rest of the Power Rangers come in. So they're all there, the original cast, but they're all suited up, so you don't see their faces. And, because basically half of them aren't there. And so what happens immediately, or almost immediately, the Rangers are fighting, and then Tommy, Kimberly, and Jason, the three actors who were not going to show up to this special, are immediately turned into like toy form, and they're stolen away, and they're being used to power a time vortex that Robo Rita's going to use to contact her past self, and basically tell her every defeat she's ever had, so she'll win, basically, right? That's the idea. So she's stealing Rangers, and she steals more than just the Mighty Morphin team. Later on, there's like loads of different Rangers from different shows, but they're only in toy. You only see them in the miniature form, and they've been, they're getting their power sucked and whatever, right? So during this fight, though, and this is one of the things I'm really not sure I'm comfortable with this show. Rita kills Trini.
Oh.
So she shoots at Billy, this thing that's going to kill Billy, and Trini, heroically dives in front and is killed, right? And I'm like, okay. Now, the show does do a great job of like paying tribute to Twee and whatnot, in that you get her daughter then, right? So her daughter kind of takes on, or wants to take on, the mantle. But I'm not sure how I feel about like this kind of, we're going to kill this character off on screen, to someone, because normally you're like, loving tribute to someone, it's like, oh god, you killed her off, and like she died in real life, and it feels kind of gross. To me it did anyway. It kind of made me feel a bit awkward, but anyway, it continues from there, and then basically we discover that Billy was trying to bring back Zordon, who the original dude in the glass jar, right? Big face. Not William Shatner, the other big head.
Not the big giant head.
Not the big giant head, the other giant head in a jar. Zordon, who sacrificed himself during, I think, Power Rangers in Space, or something. I think it was Power Rangers. I can't remember. Long time ago. But anyway, he sacrificed himself. But he believes he can still contact him because they're still out there. So he's working with Alpha 8 at the time to bring him back. And basically, when Zordon sacrificed himself, he turned like most of the bad guys good. But it turns out that the evil spirit of Rita was stuck in wherever Zordon is supposedly meant to be. and she is released instead of Zordon. They get Rita, and she destroys Alpha 8 and uses him. Basically, she kind of possesses him, and then Alpha 8 basically becomes Robo Rita, and that's how all that happened. Anyway, it then cuts years later, and Billy, there's a lot going on in this NAF Power Rangers show. I'm just realizing as I'm explaining it how like
that's a lot.
There's a lot going on. This is all in the first few minutes. The Power Rangers did this though. It always did that, like, hey, we're just gonna plot. Yeah. just throw it at you at like a million. We've only got half an hour to tell this whole story. Like, we've got 20 minutes. Come on. So anyway, we then cut years later, a couple of years later, or a year. I think it's a year later. It felt like a really long time because they're going to Trini's funeral, but it feels like way too long for a funeral. I think it was like 2 years, but that seems way too long. Maybe it was like a year or something. Anyway, a period later, and we see Zach and Billy. Zach and Billy, by the way, the only people who removed their helmet in the opening scene that I was talking about, because they're the only two actors that have returned. So they've basically taken Zach specifically has taken on the role of like parent to Trini's daughter, who, you know, basically found out that her mother was a Power Ranger the day she died, and found out that they were all Power Rangers. She blames Billy for her mother's death, and there's resentment there, and basically they're going to her funeral, and she hates Billy, but then Rita turns up again, Robo Rita. You know, she's disappeared for a while, but now she's back, and that's when so they're attacked, and then they have to fight off the Robo Rita, and that's when they get kidnapped. Sorry, they're all going to the funeral and then they get kidnapped. That's right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Billy lets Rita escape, and then later she comes back, and that's when they're all kidnapped, is at the funeral. Sorry, that's right. And then years later she then reappears again later. And they obviously go to this new command center, which is run by Billy, and it's like it's under his like science lab business. There's like the Power Rangers thing, and somehow they've all got their powers back. They don't really explain it. They're just like, you know, because originally they lost their powers, and then they got different. Every time Saban needed a new toy, they moved to another Sentai footage, and they all lost those powers in Zords and got new powers in Zords. But now they're like, hey, we just made some coins again. Don't worry about it, guys. We got our powers back. It's fine. So they call in...
Amy Jo Johnson's not in it either then?
No, she said no. Well, I think she said no, she didn't want to do she wouldn't do it for that much money or something. I think she wanted more money.
To be honest, she's the only one that actually has a career.
Yeah, she's like actually a pretty good director, I believe.
Yes, she's been in a load of really good shows as well.
She's been in shows, but I think she's actually a pretty good director from what I hear. I haven't seen her stuff, but she's made a film recently, a couple of films, I think. So they call in Rocky and Catherine, who were like, Rocky was the second. They're both the second Red and Pink Ranger, respectively. Right. So they come in, and they're now the Ranger team. So we've got Black Ranger, Blue Ranger, Red Ranger, and Pink Ranger, and they go out to stop Rita as she like basically launches this whole attack on Earth. Obviously, Trini's daughter tries to get involved at the juice bar, which apparently has stayed the exact same since 1993 and looks exactly the same as it did. Fine, whatever. And they fight, and you know eventually she's going to become the Yellow Ranger, and it's all a big, you know. Anyway, this show, overall, I had fun. I was having a very bad day, and this was good escapism. It was fun. Don't question too much about where they got their powers back. Although this is a series that I believe has a pretty good track record of doing this, where they just bring Power Rangers back and you're like, how did they get their powers back? And it's like, don't question, they just do. It's fine. And to be honest, being a huge fan of a lot of, you know, Japanese, you know, like Ultraman and stuff like that, I can fully believe they probably do the same over there. Like, don't worry, they just do. It's fine. Yeah. So whatever. This was great escapism. There is a lot of criticism of this show, but weirdly, no one's criticized the one. Well, there was criticism of the Trini thing, which I agree with. I feel a bit awkward about that. But the criticism that I've seen, which I disagree with, is the one the thing I had an issue with. No one seems to have brought up, and the thing that everyone seems to complain about was how tacky it is, and the fighting's a bit like stilted and awkward. And I'm like, guys, it's a tribute. It's a tribute to Power Rangers. The acting is terrible, yes. But that's, well, you know, I mean, it's better than it was, but it all feels very purposeful in its kind of naffness. I mean, you've got Zach doing the hip hop Aikido stuff, and you know, like his breakdancing fighting and things. You know, it's proper. It is a love letter to the original Power Rangers. So from that perspective, I'm like, fair enough. You know, I wouldn't want it to be this polished, super dark, serious thing. It's not that. It's a tribute to a really naff Saban show that stole Super Sentai, or you know, paid for Super Sentai footage from the mid 90s, early 90s. So I was expecting that. I think my biggest thing, aside from Trini with this, that was my biggest disappointment, is this obviously had a budget, right? You know, I mean, it had some money. It's Netflix money, right? I'm not quite sure what the budget was, but you can see the budget's reasonably high. And I think, to be honest, my biggest issue with this show is that, you know, this is a loving tribute to the original Power Rangers, and look, they're in the original costumes. We don't care how silly the costumes look. They're in the original costumes. They're fighting the putties. We don't care how silly the putties look. That's what they fought. That's what they did. And the guys in suits, you know, they're fighting like is it Minotaur and stuff, and like there's robo versions of them and Snizzard, and they look like they're just guys in suits, which is what you want.
Yeah.
But then at the end they get the Megazord, because of course they do. And it's all CGI. And it's really bad CGI. And I'm like, why didn't you... For the money, I would have been like, right, we're going to get a guy in a suit to do the Megazord, and we're going to have a Megazord fight in the suit like we used to. Like, that for me would have been so much better. And it really took me out, this really naff CGI. And it's doing moves that like the original obviously would never have done, because it was a guy in a suit from like probably the 60s or 70s, I guess, by the time they used that footage, right? It's probably like 70s, early 80s Sentai footage. So yeah, I was like, yeah, that kind of took me out. I was like, why did you do that? That was a weird choice. I would have just had them like build a really, you know, because it doesn't have to be great. The original wasn't great. Just build another one and just have them fight in a real suit. It felt kind of weird that they went the CG route. But it does end with a very touching tribute to Twee and also to Jason David Frank. And you do get the original Rangers kind of appear through archival footage, and their voices are used when they're in the suit. So, you know, when they're in the suits and you can't see their face in the beginning, you do hear some quotes from the previous shows, which is fine, because, again, Power Rangers has history of doing that too. They did that whole, like, I mean, God, the original Black Ranger and Red Ranger and Yellow Ranger all quit. And they just used footage of them for like half a season and pretended like they were still there. You know, it's like that's kind of what this show does. So,
dialogue is, and it's not. You know, I think that's why they had stock phrases so much.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So, you know, it's very much in the spirit of the original show. I think if you didn't like Power Rangers as a kid, you're gonna fucking hate it, because it is, you know, it is what it is. I think if you're watching it with adult eyes, which I think is the problem, a lot of people were probably Power Rangers fans, then never watched it as an adult, and then watched this and have some weird like childhood memory where things were better than they're remembering, than they actually were in their memory, and now they're seeing this and they're like, this is really naff. And it's like, guys, the original show's on Netflix. Just put an episode on and you'll soon see that that's exactly what you're dealing with here, you know. But yeah, it was fun escapism. It's not very long, it's less than an hour, so it passed the time. I had fun. It's clearly setting up for more of something. I don't know if I'm assuming this new show, the next Power Rangers show, will have David Yost in it as Billy, and probably have Charlie Kirsch, I think her name is the young girl who's replacing Trini. Whether Walter Emmanuel Jones is also in it as the Black Ranger, I don't know. But yeah, it was fun. It was good fun. And fair play to David Yost and Walter Emmanuel Jones, who are, you know, getting on now, and they do a lot of fighting out of the suit. So they were, you know,
that's kind of
put it in the time. You know, they've obviously kept in shape over the years, and you know, Because there's always that as well. When they did the Rangers coming back, there was quite often like, well, you're rather overweight now, but when you transform, somehow you're magically you're magically slim again.
The suit does a wonderful job.
I don't know how that works.
Like, it's made of Spanx material. That's what it's made of.
It's got like, it's like a Kirk shirt. It just holds everything in. I don't know. But it was good fun. I had fun. It was nice escapism for an hour. Just adjust your expectations going in. It is a tribute to the original Power Rangers, and it feels like it.
Yeah.
But it was fine. Like I said, my main issue is if you're going to do it, go all the way. Have a guy in a suit playing the Megazord at the end.
Yeah, that does seem a bit
weird, especially when they didn't have it. They have it doing like flips and shit, and it's like, no, that's not what it does. It's a guy in a suit. At least make it behave like a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, what else have you watched?
I haven't seen any of the newer ones. So, do they still use guys in suits for the Zords in the new ones?
No, they are very much CG. Although there's still guys in suits at some stages, but usually the Megazord stuff, the Zords are usually CG now.
I guess they just continue with that.
Yeah, they've just continued with it. But I kind of felt like, you're doing a tribute to the original show. It would have been nice. There is still guys in suits fighting when when the Power Rangers are fighting. It's guys in suits versus guys in suits. But the Megazord stuff tends to be CG now, from what I've seen. I haven't really kept up with it, to be honest with you. So, but I have seen like bits and pieces, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's obviously quite a CG heavy show when it comes to that stuff, and it is bad CG because it's on the cheap as it's fucking Saban Hasbro, isn't it? Come on.
Yeah.
But anyway, what else have you watched?
So I have also watched Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Okay.
So,
tell me all about this Banana Splits movie.
It's Winnie the Pooh, isn't it? It's out of a thingy now.
Get ready for this, because this is happening with this. By the way, this dream of all of these are in the public domain now.
Yes, that's what I was trying to. Bloody find.
That is going to fucking end next year.
Oh God. I mean, yeah.
It's going to end next year because Mickey Mouse is in the public domain next year, and Disney will fucking stop it somehow. That is going to end somehow.
So far, they've managed to get the rules changed so many times.
Yeah.
Because shouldn't he have been at?
I think probably before. Yeah. I mean, Mickey is ancient, right? So.
Yeah.
But it is literally the logo of their company, which is hilarious. If they fail to stop that going to public domain, guaranteed, because it'll only take like a month max to shovel out a piece of shit horror movie based on Mickey. It'll happen.
There are whole companies that already have the costumes.
Oh God, yeah. They'll probably have filmed it. Yeah.
For when it happened.
Yeah, for sure.
So. In this, we start with a very basic but actually quite cool animation.
Okay.
Of once there was a boy called Christopher Robin who was a bit lonely, and in the forest he came across a bunch of mutant children, basically.
Okay.
So a bunch of hybrids, and he helped them, and he loved them, and they loved him, and they spent lots and lots of time in the 100-acre wood, and they had wonderful adventures, and they were all great. But then one day, Christopher Robin went to college. He fucked off to college, and he said, you'll be fine. And sadly, they weren't all fine, they starved, and they were just not having a good time, and they ate all. And basically. They became
Did that sustain them for how many years?
Yeah. And they decided that, we no longer want to be human. We would turn our back on our human sides.
Right.
And now we just want to be evil, monstrous cannibals, and we want to kill Christopher Robin. And then the movie starts with Nikolai Leon, and... now which one is the woman that's playing his intended? There's a lot of ladies in this, and they all... I can't remember which one is his girlfriend. Not that it really fucking matters. Anyway, he's been to college and all this sort of stuff, and he's got his new fiance, and he's taking his fiance to the 100-acre wood because he wants her to meet Pooh and his friends. And of course she's like, yeah, all right, I believe you. You had friends in the woods that were like animals and stuff. And it's like, no, they're real. They're real. Honestly, they're real. And when they get there, there's this, there's the tree house, and there's for some reason weird caravans, which
Okay.
And there's a grave.
Is it basically Wrong Turn, but with Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. I mean, I'm kind of down with that. That is already what you've said is already better than the Banana Splits movie, so I'll give it that much.
So basically, we see Pooh and Piglet. We don't see Rabbit or Owl.
Okay.
But we presume they're still alive somewhere. Because they haven't got graves for those. They've only got grave for Eeyore. So, but they're sort of when there's a couple of times where it switches to sort of animation just briefly, and you see them in the background, but you don't see them. But so the main two are Piglet and Pooh, and I'm sure you've seen what Pooh looks like.
Oh yeah, it's all over the poster and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, and Piglet kind of looks like he's got these massive tusks, and the thing that struck me the most is, wow, for creatures that are starving, they're awfully fat.
Well, I was going to say, how long did they eat Eeyore for to last this long?
I know. Well, they've already started murdering people, basically. Now.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
So yeah, they have started, but for how fat they are, they must be murdering a lot of people. Anyway, basically, they obviously get set upon, and all Christopher Robin keeps screaming is, "Oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? We used to be friends." And that's kind of like his entire dialogue for the whole movie, and it's so fucking annoying. He's fucking awful. Anyway, basically, the girlfriend gets munched on, and then Christopher Robin gets bathed in her blood and, chained up. And then we move to a bunch of
annoying
ladies.
Teenagers?
Not really teenagers. I'd say sort of 20-ish girls. And one of them has had this sort of stalker that's, nobody believed her that she was being stalked. And then one day she woke up with the guy above her. So they're kind of taking her away
right.
to recover. And it's, it's a bunch of women that are, you've got your specky one and your
it's all the stereotypes
and
here.
Yeah, you've got your Instagram model one, and you've got all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, it becomes they're stalked by, Pooh. And basically, it's what if the animals were Texas Chainsaw Family? Basically, is what they are.
They're not.
Pooh is Leatherface, basically.
Yeah, so they're actually. So is Pooh and Piglet? Are they actually like
they're monsters?
Are they? Yeah, so they're like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle style mutations. It's not like they're mutants wearing masks that look like Winnie the Pooh. So they're actually he is actually like a mutant bear thing and a mutant pig thing and
yes.
Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah. Which I quite like.
I'm down with that.
A couple of times where I thought he was going to take the Pooh one. I thought, is he going to take the mask off?
I think it's just a really bad mask. That's why I was wondering myself.
I actually thought the mask was very good. The problem is that
they show too much.
CGI it to make it the mouth sort of smile or frown, and it's like, oh, that's really bad. And the CG blood is fucking terrible.
Oh, I hate CG blood.
So basically from there it goes that Pooh is killing them, and then you've got these other people that turn up that have been attacked, and it is an absolute mess. The story is all over the place. There's like people get introduced all like just suddenly, and you're like, okay, fine, whatever. There's a whole gang. They come across two of the women are running away at one point, and they come across these blokes like drinking in their like pickup truck sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be the 100 Acre Wood, which is based in, was it Essex? Is it supposed to be?
Yeah.
Where it is. But these guys are like American hicks. They've all got like, overalls and...
They just happen to be there. Are they even got English accents, or are they literally...
No, one of them is... I think only one of them has a blatant American hick accent, and the rest are sort of... I don't know whether they're trying to do that accent or not.
Oh my God.
Like, where are these people supposed to be from?
Have you ever been to England?
It's just so fucking weird.
Damn.
It's honestly, it's fucking awful. It's really, really bad. It's a complete mess. The CG blood is terrible. There's some nice sort of bits with the monsters sort of chasing them, and then it sort of falls apart a bit. The weird thing is I kind of enjoyed it for what it is. It reminded me of that sort of period in the 80s where people were just doing, Friday the 13th or just ripping it off, but they had no budget at all and they had no actors and they just wanted to do it. And this kind of is that.
Right.
Just slightly better in some places with it than others have been. So it kind of it hit the nostalgia part of me. There was a sort of I can see what they're trying to do, and it kind of that sort of kind of worked.
East Sussex, yeah.
Sorry?
East Sussex. It was based on Sussex, Ashdown Forest in East Sussex.
Right.
So it's a far cry from Hicksville, USA.
Yeah, not in Alabama or Texas or. It's just kind of is what I expected it to be. It's fucking awful.
This is pretty much what I expected it to be.
It's got its moments.
I feel like all of these movies are going to be the same. All of these trash horror movies based on childhood icons that are now in the public domain. It's just a matter of they're all the same.
And it's already got a sequel lined up, which I think is going to have slightly more money, which is fine.
Yeah. They can afford to do a CGI mutant owl in the next one.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It hit the sort of nostalgia slasher bug.
Sure.
And I thought that was fine. There's some really grotty bits that kind of worked. The acting is appalling. Sometimes the Pooh thing is quite sinister. The pig thing was quite sinister at times, and other times it just looked a little daft.
There are photos of it of them in shadow, and they look pretty good.
Yes.
And then there's pictures of them in daylight, and it looks terrible.
When you can't see them properly, they look pretty good. There's a lot of sort of them dribbling and sort of just like, I think it's supposed to be sort of like blood-filled honey coming out of its mouth at times. That just makes it look a bit silly. But to be honest, it's one of those times you just go, well, what were you expecting?
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
If you were genuinely going into this movie expecting something fantastic,
something more,
that's on you.
Well, that's the same as Power Rangers, right? It's like, what did you think was going to happen?
It pretty much does what it says on the tin. It's a complete mess. But if you just want a sort of bad slasher movie, you can do a lot fucking worse.
Occasionally I am in the mood for.
Yeah.
So
I would say with a couple of friends and some beers, it would probably be all right.
Well, that's
just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Just the sheer ludicrous acting and the story that just goes everywhere. So it is what it is. I couldn't honestly recommend it to most people. I wouldn't say, you should watch this because it's one of those movies for its genre and all that stuff. No. I could recommend this to you, and I could recommend it to other people that
very specific other people.
Yeah, people that like terrible slasher movies.
Yeah.
This will scratch that itch for a bit.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those films I just think, like, I saw it and I was like, that looks terrible. But I feel like it's inevitable that I'll watch it.
Yeah.
When you're just like, I feel like there's no point in protesting. I will end up watching it. I just will. I just know there will be a Sunday at some point in the future, and I'll be like, oh, why not?
I can't remember the other one. I know I was looking at this thing, and they were saying about the other ones that are being done, and they're doing. I think the director of this is doing a Peter Pan one, like Nightmare in Neverland, I think it's called. And there's another one he's doing as well. And I think they're all going to be like linked in a universe.
Of course. Yeah. That's the thing to do. Everything needs to be a universe.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find the other one. The other one was. Is it saying? No, I can't see it. But there was one, Oh, that was quite fun. I did see that it was pulled from Hong Kong because of the China's president thing. Because basically the president of China people keep comparing him to looking like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, so okay. I didn't know that was the thing.
Movie pulled from Hong Kong.
I don't think the movie was meant to be directed at him.
No, but
I didn't know that was the thing.
Yeah.
Hang on. The Chinese president.
Yes, or prime minister, or whatever he is.
Prime minister, I don't know, dictator. President. I think he's a president.
Yeah,
he is. Hang on. No, I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God! Actually, when you Google him, there are pictures of him and Winnie the Pooh side by side, and yeah, I can kind of see it. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, obviously, a comparison he really doesn't like.
Oh no, and that the thing is though. I mean, obviously, he's got a lot of power, and I guess he can just have his fit of rage and cancel this show.
Yeah,
but you're better off just going with the joke. Just own it.
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah, fine.
I mean, there are worse.
The more you protest, there are definitely worse
animals you could get compared to.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly a thing. There will be more. Like you said, Peter Pan. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, brace yourselves for that in the coming years. We'll see how Disney do next year with Mickey. But that's definitely going to happen. There is no way we're getting out of the next 2 years without a Mickey Mouse horror film if it becomes public domain. It's impossible. It writes itself for one thing. So
yeah.
But anyway, the only other thing I've done in the last 2 weeks is finish watching Picard season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk about that for a bit. I liked it.
Yeah.
The end.
Well, I mean, that seems to be the overriding.
Do you know the most amazing thing happened though, and it's not even surprising. I finished watching this, and I'll get into my thoughts in a second. I finished watching Picard season 3, episode 10, and I was like, I feel really good about this now. I've actually watched a half decent Star Trek show for the first time since Enterprise. I really enjoyed this. This was great, and then I saw the trailer for Strange New World season 2, and I immediately threw the entire franchise back in the bin and was like, fuck off. I am just happy. Yes, it was specifically, and I liked some of Strange New World season 1. I gave it a go because I like Handsome Mount Pike, and I was like, okay, there were a couple of episodes I enjoyed. Fuck off, in the bin. That was the worst trailer, and they did it the worst time because you're coming off of Picard, and you're like, hey, that was actually done with respect. Season 3 felt like it was done by a Star Trek fan.
They can't help themselves.
No, I know, and I was like, no,
fuck over the characters. They can not do it.
I'm a Highlandering the fuck out of this franchise. I don't care anymore. I'm like, I am thankful I got
franchise. What are you talking about?
I like some of the series.
Yeah, I know.
Unashamedly so.
There is
Sorry.
only one movie, goddammit.
There is only one movie. You're right about that. Yeah, you are right about that. There is only one movie. The manga's pretty good. There's a manga anime is pretty good. But yeah, I like some of the series. I know it's a bit naff in places, but it's
terribly naff. I really enjoy the series.
Something I've a childhood bias. I like the series. But yeah, so I immediately was like, no, I'm just thankful that we got this series. I didn't think I would ever watch Star Trek again and actually enjoy it as much as I have this season. I'm just going to assume this is probably it, to be honest, and just take it for what it is. I had a really good time. I was of the opinion, and I know you still are, I was not even going to bother with this series. I was, after like what I'd seen I'd seen season 1 and I hated it. And what I'd seen of season 2, I was like, I'm not even watching season 3. I don't care. And it was only because I'd heard from people that I was like, okay, people that, felt the same way I did about the other shows.
Yeah.
We're in on this and actually liking it. And I was like, okay. I mean, I quit Discovery season 2 after season 2. I gave it longer than you did.
Yeah, I quit halfway through season 1.
Yeah, I persevered longer than I should have. And I realized that. I can tell you the exact moment I quit is when Michael Burnham comes out of the time warp and she hits a ship and then crashes into the planet, and then she's got I rage quit. They crash into a planet and then just take off again. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, back to Picard season 3 before I generate anger. So this is a show. Finally, it does a couple of things I really like. One, they actually fix some plot holes from Star Trek movies and Next Gen, which I was quite pleased about. They fixed the Borg thing, which has always been weird. They fixed the Jean-Luc. Why does Jean-Luc hear the Borg after he's no longer Borg? They fixed it, and I was like, wow, you actually watched some Star Trek. That's good.
I just presumed
he was special because he was Locutus.
Just his brain. I just presumed that.
Well, that's basically what they've said it is. It is.
Yeah, I just presumed they could never remove all of it. There was just still something stuck in his head.
Yeah. I guess it was just less visible with him than with 7 of 9, where you're like, yeah, of course, she's still got Borg parts over her face and stuff.
Yeah,
cool. But they did, things like that. They fixed nicely. This is a show. It is full of member berries. There's no doubt of that. Mm-hmm. No arguments there, but they are done well. They're, for the most part, very few of them felt cheap. They felt warranted. I will say it is one of the best uses of a returning cast. Everyone felt necessary. We didn't I feel like they could have just really rushed this and just chucked all of them together in episode 1, and it would have felt horribly forced. And instead of that, they, were introduced to the cast throughout the 10 episodes. I think it's only like episode 8 by the time everyone's together. Maybe even, 8 or 9. And it feels like, when they're there, it feels warranted. They managed to make Raffi a character I don't hate by the end, which is a miracle, because I really did not like Raffi.
Okay.
She was actually pretty good by the end.
I was surprised that one of the things is I didn't understand. They seem to have got rid of everybody else. Why keep her? She was a terrible character. Well, they were all terrible for that character.
They were. Well, I don't know. I don't know why, really. She felt fine in the show, though. I guess it's because they wanted... I think they mainly did it as a way to reintroduce Worf in a more interesting way than just having him hanging around.
Okay.
He's like her handler for, undercover Federation security force.
Okay. Yes, I remember somebody saying that she's, basically announcing that she's undercover at one point.
Not really.
Over the comms or something.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, she's talking to her handler. She talks to her handler about being undercover, but he knows that because he's assigned her to it. I don't think she announces it anywhere else. She might have done. I don't know. Don't think so. Maybe. But yeah, overall, it feels like a show that is actually written by someone who actually likes The Next Generation and has actually watched all of it. There are a lot of references. There's a lot of nice references. Very few of them feel awkward. Now, I will say, I did. I laughed out loud in the wrong way with James T. Kirk's bones. I was like, "That's you're going
to me, when I heard that, I thought, "What that? No."
Yeah, well, I always thought it was a bit shit that Picard just left him buried on a fucking planet. But you would have thought they would have like interned him in some big thing on Earth or something, and like
he saved fucking Earth on numerous occasions, for fuck's sake. He should have a fucking monument.
I agree, and that was probably the worst Easter egg in my opinion. It was the one that was like, oh, that would have been really nice if you'd done that in a better way. Like, I'm all for having a reference to Kirk not being stuck on a planet, and it makes sense with later because obviously we get the Enterprise D saucer section back, and they worked that in well as well. Prime Directive and all that. Why would it be left on a planet to rot away? Geordie's had it for 20 years and he's been doing it up at the Fleet Museum, which he runs. I'm fine with that. Fine with it. And there's even a really nice touch. The Star Drive, which blew up in Generations, not getting that back, was taken from the
battle section.
Sorry?
The battle section, yeah?
Yeah, the Star Drive, that blew up in Generations. And Geordie says it's been replaced by the Syracuse Star Drive.
Right.
And they actually, if you look at the CG, the Star Drive actually says Syracuse on it instead of Enterprise. That's a nice little neat thing they actually paid attention to. I don't know why Geordie didn't replace that bit, but fine, whatever. He does say it's a work in progress and it's not perfect.
He hasn't got to yet.
Yeah, so it was nice. That was nice. I loved there. I this is not going to last. This is only this season and never again. The whole way through,
already announced a load of stuff that makes you just go, well.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm already out again. Yeah. If Terry Metalis does another show, I'll give it a watch. But other than that, I'm and even then, I feel like Alex Kurtzman's going to shit all over anything that they want to do next.
He was already asked at some premiere or something, what about this Star Trek Legacy series? And he was completely vague about it. It was like, oh yeah,
he must be furious because he didn't do season 3 because he couldn't be bothered, and then the guy came along and just did an amazing show, and everyone's like, oh my god, this is brilliant.
Getting plaudits for making a fucking Star Trek series.
Yep.
And yeah, he must be absolutely fucking livid.
I think he must be fuming. But yeah, it's a nice show. The new characters, the new cast are great. I really like Ed Spilliers is great in this. He plays
is that the captain?
No, he is fuck, we're doing spoilers, aren't we? Obviously. It's he is Picard's son.
Yes,
Picard and Crusher's son. Captain Shaw though is amazing as well. Really liked him. I would have loved to have seen a show with Shaw, to be honest. He's fantastic. He works really well as like a foil to certainly early on to Picard and Riker.
Yeah.
A very different style of captain, but not like in if it was like a Discovery. If this was Discovery, that captain would be useless and shit at his job and probably die and they'd laugh about it or something.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, although he is somewhat antagonistic towards Picard and Riker and he disagrees with the way they went about things back in their day, he sees them as cowboys, whereas he likes, order and whatnot, he's shown to be an extremely competent captain, an excellent engineer. He's got an engineering background. He is a very good captain. It's just he's a very different captain. He's like Jellicoe. Yeah. He's like Jellicoe, where it's like he's not a terrible captain. He just isn't what you think is he's not Picard.
I think that was one of the good things about the original series is they were very good at showing the fact that the Enterprise crew are not a normal crew.
No, yeah,
they're when you've got captains like Jellicoe who
by the book and very
his
much
crew is iron fist, iron rod ruled. They don't talk to his crew.
Well, he's like, hey, we're proper military. You guys on the Enterprise on your luxury cruise liner. You're just
on your ilk. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the great thing about that episode with Jellicoe. You're like, but Jellicoe was right the whole way through. He's fine. Like, he's not wrong. He's a prick, but he's right. And you kind of get that with Shaw. Shaw is like that. He's he is an asshole, but he's good at his job, and he comes through, and he does. There are moments when he his main argument early on really is like, well, Riker and Picard basically lied to me to get the ship to this point, then stole a shuttlecraft, and are now in trouble. I'm not risking my entire 500 crew for two assholes who just stole a shuttle. And it's like, that's a fair argument. Like, he's not, again, he's being a dick in terms of like, oh, well, we like Picard and Riker, we want to see them survive. But he's not wrong. It's like, no, he's right. And when he realizes that, Ed Spillier's character is actually Picard's son, he does go to his rescue and stuff, and he does actually, when he needs to, he will do what they need him to do. He's just very much a different style of captain, but he was great. That's the great thing about this show. It's not just the returning cast, the new cast are fantastic as well. I was a big fan of one I think is actually genuinely LeVar Burton's daughters.
Oh, okay.
One of them is. I'm not sure which one is the genuine daughter. Mika Burton. So she's right. Okay, so she's the engineer. Is actually LeVar Burton's daughter, Alandra LaForge. And she's fine. But Sydney LaForge, played by Ashley Sharp Chestnut, she is awesome in this show. So again, it's a great cast. And by the end of this show, you're like, hey, if you wanted to do another show with these cast of characters,
that's what I've heard people
I
say.
would watch it. But then you did that fucking trailer for Strange New World Season 2, and I just lost all faith again. By the way, one of the things I really love about this show, and I will quote it because it fucking is brilliant. I can't say word for word, but there is a line in this show where Beverly Crusher is like, no one's seen or heard from the Borg in over 10 years. And it's like, oh, I love you so much for just shitting all over season 2 and throwing it in the bin and just be like, that never happened. It's like, excellent. So what they've done...
I've definitely heard people say, look, you don't need to watch the other
No, God,
stuff.
no.
You can ignore all that, just watch this.
A friend of mine messaged before this show and they were like, I'm going to go on to Picard now. And I was like, don't do season 1 and 2. Just don't fucking do it. Just don't do it. Go straight to season 3. Skip to season 3. It will be fine. You won't know who Raffi is, but you don't need to. You'll get to know her, and she's much better in this anyway. And what they've done is they've cherry picked what they wanted to use for this story and what they didn't want to use. Like, they kept the fact that Picard's dead and an android. They kept that stuff. They kept. There's a few things they have decided to keep. Like Data did die, and that sort of stuff they've kept, but they've cherry picked and they've ignored a lot of stuff. And I know there was some controversy, I think, over the Ro Laren stuff. I thought that episode was probably my favorite episode of the lot. I think they did an amazing job with Ro Laren, and it ended a storyline that didn't. I never felt had a proper ending with her character. I feel like she's actually had a really good send-off in this show. And as a guest character, which I didn't know was turning up either. I was like, oh.
I love Ro. Ro was one of my favourite characters.
She's
I was
amazing
really pissed off when they got rid of her.
She's amazing in this. They gave her a proper send-off, and it's awesome.
I don't understand how she's back in fucking Starfleet, though.
No, I must admit, I did raise an eyebrow, but the story was so strong that I was like, yeah, okay. Maybe Dominion War got desperate. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. I must admit there were a few things like that where I was like, how though are you back? And like, would you be back after what you've done?
Well, you would have thought she wouldn't want to come back.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, they do have a very emotional reunion of sorts because obviously she fucking hates Picard at first, or she doesn't hate him, but she's very bitter to him.
Where she speaks to him. I've seen some of the clips.
Yeah,
and I saw the clip where she says, that she kind of sees him as a father, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's a solid. In my opinion, a mostly solid show. It's not perfect. There are things that. There is particularly a scene at the end where I was like, I will just go with this because I'm very much enjoying this show. But I will say, just for the record, the Enterprise D is not the Millennium Falcon. It's
heard that.
Fucking not.
It's doing like flips and shit.
It's not that bad. You know, when I first watched it, I was like, really? Then I rewatched it and I was like, actually, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And it's got a lovely moment as well, because Data is put into a super advanced body where he's like pretty much human now. He's basically on the same level as Picard, where he's like in a pretty much human body, and he's got emotions, proper emotions, and everything. And it comes at this great moment where they have to go inside the Borg cube, and they're like, we cannot possibly navigate that. Even the computer can. And Data's like, I can do this, and they're like, you can't do it. And Geordi's like, you cannot do that, Data. It's impossible. And he's like, I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my gut that I can do it. And Geordi's like, okay, we're going to go with your gut. You for the, and it calls back to that great moment in, like, was it like season 1 of TNG where is Geordi saying, hey, I feel it in my gut, and Data's like, your gut? What do you mean your gut? It's nice callbacks. It's good. And also, by the way, it turns out that in the Picard season 3 continuity, not the Picard season 2 continuity, Picard season 3 continuity, I'm pretty sure that Janeway killed the Borg. Like, killed them.
Because they're,
she obliterated them.
She's now like the Queen's like a rotting Geiger-esque.
Yeah, it's great. She's basically like, I think that virus literally killed the Borg in season 3 continuity. And I'm like, wow, fair play.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of awesome. The start of the show, it kind of is like a changeling plot.
Yeah.
And then they reveal, I think it's like the start of episode 9 or 8, that it's the Borg. And I was like, oh, really? We have to do the Borg? But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, if there is one primary thing that people associate with TNG, it is the Borg. So it makes sense from that perspective that they would be in this. And moreover, they have been done such a disservice over the years that it's nice to see a proper decent send-off for the Borg where they're not awful. Like, it was like, this is actually a really good story involving the Borg, and I feel like we can just end here on a nice high. It feels like it's the final end of the Borg here. You're done. And I'll probably never watch Star Trek again anyway, so it's cool. It will end here. It's fine. So I liked it that much that honestly I would happily buy this season, just this season, physically, and have it with the rest of my Star Trek collection, which goes up to and ends with Enterprise. Well, the movies. I have got Nemesis, and Nemesis came off after. Did Nemesis come after Enterprise or before? After. After. Yeah. Just about. Just
during,
after.
Maybe. I don't.
Or maybe during. But either way, that's where my collection ends, and then it might just have Picard season 3 now on top of that, because I really enjoyed this. I know you're still like, no, and I get that. I respect it.
No, I mean, from what I've heard, I've watched a lot of reviews.
I think bits of it would annoy you, but I think overall you'd probably come away like, that was reasonably good.
There's some stuff that I like. I like the sound of. I find the younger generation have been assimilated.
I don't know if that was an intentional subtext.
Funny. Even if it's not intentional.
Yeah, it's funny either way.
It's funny. Yeah. It's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Baffles me that I seem to be the only person that's not nostalgic for the D.
I am nostalgic for it, but as I pointed out before we started this show, you have been consistent on this.
Yeah,
if people go back to our Generations review, we had the discussion that you hated the look of the D. Now, I will say, in this show, they have been sensible. See, I think I said during our Generations review that I like the Enterprise D from certain angles. And it felt like they knew the right angles to film this at to make it look good, not naff.
Yeah.
It's like the White Star from Babylon 5.
Yeah.
It's very angular. You need to film the White Star from the right angle and it looks badass. If you film it from the wrong angle, it looks like a turkey. It's very angular. And it's the same with the D, where it's I
can see that.
With the D, it's like, certain angles I like it and certain angles I don't. But I know you never liked the D.
No,
so yeah.
I've always hated that fucking thing.
Which is why I think I said to you when I reviewed the first couple of episodes that I thought you'd dig the first couple of episodes because everyone's dumping on the D the whole way through.
I saw the clip when they were talking about
how ugly the D is.
Does anybody buy the thing?
Nobody likes the fat ones.
One.
Yeah.
That is funny.
But there was a reason why they needed to use. Well, I mean, they didn't need to use the Enterprise D.
Well,
They could have used
there's-
any of the ones at the Fleet Museum, but
Yeah, but they've
There's
gone all Battlestar Galactica, haven't they?
yes, basically it's Battlestar Galactica. And and so that they're like, oh, we need something off the grid, and that was cool. The nice things as well. They actually, you can tell they watch the show, man. That's the thing. It's like they go to the Fleet Museum and they end up stealing the cloaking device from the Bounty, which obviously is the Klingon bird of prey that Kirk used, right? And immediately everyone online was like, why didn't they just use the Defiant cloaking device? And it's like, because they watched the fucking show, and that is not the Defiant. The Defiant blew up. The second Defiant never had a cloaking device. Only the first one did. So,
are you sure? I thought the second one had a cloaking device as well.
It never cloaked in the show after they got it back.
Huh.
I mean, it might have had a cloaking device, but I don't think it ever cloaked after that point, because it blew up quite towards the end. The Sao Paulo, was it? Sao Paulo? They was renamed.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know it. I know they renamed.
Yeah.
An existing.
So I don't think it had a cloaking device at that point. But I really enjoyed this show. It was fun. I just feel like I'm going to take it for what it is, as a one-off thing. It was a nice send-off.
Yeah.
It's a much better, very long, but a much better movie than I think any of the next gen movies we got. So I'm happy, and I'll just finish there with Star Trek, unless something miracle happens. It was fine. It was good. Undoes a lot of the things that sounded awful from season 2, and what I saw of season 2, and obviously I did watch all of season 1. So yeah, it's good.
That's
good
fair enough. I mean, I'm still
Happy.
not going to watch it.
No,
but...
that's fair enough. If you ever feel the need, I'll probably own it at some point, so you can always grab it if you ever feel the need.
Yeah.
But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm just feel lucky that we got that, and we'll move on, because I know full well it's clearly going to go back to, hey, here's a Section 31 show, and whatever. So fine.
He's still trying that fucking.
He is determined, and I'm like, no, not even for Michelle Yeoh.
No,
not even for her. Not doing it.
Michelle Yeoh, but
Me
no.
too.
Fuck off. I'm seriously.
I'm surprised they can still afford her. I'm surprised, because her money, her wage must have gone up.
But it's perfect for them right now, because she's still attached to it. She's still willing, I think, to do it.
I guess.
And she's got clout.
Oh, she's got clout.
So...
I just thought her maybe they signed her on before she won.
Mm-hmm.
We signed you on before you win the award.
Yeah,
I guess they're like, are the Oscars next week? Hey, Michelle Yeoh, do you want a job? You have to sign up now.
Yeah.
You have to sign up today. Okay. But yeah, anyway, I enjoyed it. What else have you watched? Sorry, God, fucking hell, I talked about that for a long time. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I have also seen Kill Boksoon. So this is a Korean movie, Korean Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Directed by
quite a few Korean movies and series coming out on Netflix these days. It's great.
Yeah. Starring Jeon Do-yoon as Gil Boksoon, Esom as Jae Min-hee, and who was the other dude? Seon Kim as Gil Jan-young. Can't remember which one's the other guy. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so basically, we are introduced to Gil Boksoon, who is also known as Gil Boksoon, and she is an assassin. And basically, you're introduced to this sort of, it's like a guild of assassins who have a certain number of rules. They have 3 rules, that you're not supposed to kill minors. You have to, if you're given you can only accept contracts from the MK company.
Okay.
And once you've accepted it, you have to carry it out.
Okay.
Basically. And she's their top assassin. She's been doing it for a number of years, but she's now got this. She's not now, but she has a 16-year-old daughter. So she's a single mother, and her daughter is just sort of, finding her own.
Oh no!
And
are they going to be like, "Hey, she's not a minor anymore, and someone's put a hit out on her"?
Not quite.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, it's basically the guy in charge is. She's his favorite, but he has a sister that's the director of the company, and she fucking hates her.
Right.
And the sister keeps saying that you let her get away with everything. She's gets away with too much, and she really doesn't like her.
Mm.
And there's another group of sort of people that are around Boksoon who are they're not quite company people. They sort of work for the company, but they're not A-list assassins.
Okay.
So they don't get any good jobs. They only get the shit stuff.
Sure.
Like clear up and things like that. But they're doing their own sort of thing. And there's this sort of like weird sort of dynamic between them all. They all kind of worship her, but if something happens, they'll fucking take her out if they need to. Which, if you've watched the movie, you'll see. But she with her daughter, her relationship with her daughter is really strange because she doesn't really know how to talk to her daughter. She doesn't want her upbringing was fucking awful. Her dad was this horrible, brutish thug of a man, and she doesn't want to bring her daughter up like that. But unfortunately, that means that she doesn't quite know how to treat her. So she doesn't really know what's going on with her daughter. She doesn't know, how to take her. But when she's being her assassin, she's amazing, and everybody either loves her or respects her.
Mm.
And then obviously things go. There's a sort of a story going along for it, with also in the background about the sort of the prime minister of the country or president, whatever they have, there's in some sort of weird corruption thing going on, and it's something to do with his son. So the contract thing comes into play with that, the rules and the contract. And for the most part, it's a pretty good movie, actually. The fight scenes are really good. I'll definitely big up those fight scenes. The fight scenes are fantastic. The character of Gail Boksoon, sometimes her arrogance is a little much.
I guess she's very good at her job.
She is very good at her job, but sometimes you just think, I could have done without that comment.
Sure.
Or I could have done without, but it's who she is, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that shows why maybe the director hates her. It's like
it contrasts with what her relationship with her daughter and what's going on with her daughter. It's like 2 hours 20 minutes ish. It's this one, as opposed to Babylon, actually felt a bit too long. Towards the end, I was getting to the point where it's like, oh, okay, you've got to fucking finish now, because this is dragging a bit. And it sort of began to sort of meander a little. The performances are pretty cool. The main character, the actress, is really good. I think I've seen her in one or two other things before, and she's a really good actress. I don't think I've seen anything by this director before.
Okay.
But actually, for the most part, the direction was pretty good. As I said, the fight scene's really cool. As inevitably happens, people compare it to. It's about assassins, and it's about over the top kills and stuff. So it's going to be compared to John Wick, because that's the standard right now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. I think the actual company stuff needed to be a little more defined with what was going on, and it suffers from one of those things that we say about a lot of these movies. Is it probably would have been better as a series?
Yeah.
They could have developed the company more. They could have developed the main character and the daughter a little bit more. But it was actually a very enjoyable action movie. I would say I would recommend it overall. I think it's got some nice performances. It's got some great fights, and it's a pretty well directed movie. So I would say I would definitely recommend it. But I think it is a bit too long. I think it probably could have done with, I don't know, 30 minutes taken out.
Sure. Okay.
And it should have been a series. I think should have been a 6-part series or something, just to sort of flesh out what needed to be fleshed out.
Yeah.
With the sort of the slightly more world building. But the the brother and sister who are in charge of the company, they're quite cool. The boss is quite a menacing guy, and you do see why he favors her, and you've got that sort of stuff. And some of the stuff with the daughter was actually quite good. She's it turns out that she's in this relationship with this girl, and obviously this girl wants to keep it secret, but she keeps getting hassled by this boy, and there's this incident that happens, and that I actually enjoyed all that. That was actually quite good. Excuse me. So yeah, overall, I would recommend it. I think it's actually a pretty good, solid action movie.
Cool. Well, I probably will check that out. It sounds like good fun. But yes, well, I think that's everything. It's certainly everything I've seen. Like I said, it's not been a good month, so I haven't actually watched much. I did plan on seeing Evil Dead Rise this weekend, but I don't know if I'm going to get a chance. I will do soon, though, because
I've heard good things.
Yeah, I've heard pretty good things, so I'm pretty excited for that one.
I still would like to go and see Renfield.
I still don't know how I feel about it. I will see it because I love Nick Cage, and I love
it comes on stream.
I love the concept. I love the concept so much. I just hate that they've given him superpowers. It kind of undercuts the whole abused boyfriend thing,
Yeah.
Like the Renfield being this abused guy going to like this meeting to talk about his abuse at the hands of Dracula. That's funny and that's really clever. But I feel like once he's got superpowers, I'm like, oh no, why did you do that? You've kind of.
I've heard some good stuff about the.
I'm sure it's fine. It's just a trailer that I'm going off of,
Yeah, well, there's some of the things that basically Cage is playing the Lugosi Dracula.
Fantastic.
Which really pleases me.
I mean, even from the trailer, you can tell that Nick Cage is having fun, which to me is the most important thing. I'm like, as long as he's having fun, I'm having fun.
He said for years that this is Dracula's one of the characters he's always wanted to play. So.
Yeah, which is cool. So he finally got to do it, and doing Lugosi Dracula. That's cool. That's really cool. Speaking of really cool, I've got something to show you in a bit, actually, off air.
Okay.
It was something that I was like, oh my god, at that price, I'm gonna buy those as soon as they come out. I don't care. It's a lot of money, but I'm going to buy them. And then I realized that's the reserve price. And then I saw the actual price. I saw the actual price, and I was like, no, I won't. But they're very cool, so I'll show them to you later because they're just that cool. But anyway, well, that is it. We do have some apparently sad breaking news. I don't really have any kind of connection to this person, but apparently Jerry Springer's passed away.
Oh,
yeah. So that's the thing.
I used to love Jerry Springer. Honestly.
I never really watched it, to be honest. His show and stuff,
did.
But a lot of people did. It was a big thing over in the UK as well. But apparently he's passed away, according to
I really love Jerry Springer. It was a terrible program, but so enjoyable.
It was scripted, and we know what it was, and fine,
Terrible, but also great.
Sure.
I mean, he was one of the the first people that did that stuff.
Yeah, he did. He basically made the formula, right? And what a transition from mayor. Was he mayor to that?
Yeah, he was he mayor of New York, or was it?
I think he was mayor of New York.
He was. Yeah, he completely changed.
It's quite a bounce back to.
It really is, yeah.
But yeah. We've had a couple of trailers. We had the Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire teaser.
Godzilla X Kong trailer, yeah.
Not really a
terrible name, but sure.
I like the New Empire bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's cool.
Didn't exactly show an awful lot. Didn't give much away.
No, we have an orangutan, I guess.
What the trailer is supposed to do, the teaser is supposed to do.
No, yeah, it's just teasing that something's coming. It's coming out next year. So they probably haven't even finished CG or anything yet to show much. But color me curious. I see the the glowing eyes and stuff, and I'm like, maybe we're gonna do the electricity Kong from King Kong versus Godzilla. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm excited. Obviously, looking forward to it. I'm really more excited. I want to know more about the Godzilla movie we're getting this year, which no news has come out about since they announced it. So that would be nice. November. Godzilla Day, we're getting a new Japanese Godzilla movie, but they've said nothing since they announced it, and somehow they managed to keep this stuff secret. Like in the UK, in the West,
done quite good job at that.
In the West, it just comes out, doesn't it? It's like instantly. Like, there's leaks and everything. I can't find anything. It's just, which is cool in a way. I'm excited.
Yeah. I did see that the team behind Scream 6, I think it is,
Oh God.
are doing a Universal monster movie.
Oh no.
But they haven't said what it is. So, I mean, I kind of gave up.
Was
on
Scream 6 the one that I watched?
I don't remember, honestly.
Last year I watched it. I watched a Scream movie last year and it was awful.
There was one this year as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, so I haven't seen. I'm not watching that. No, I watched the last one and I'm done. I'm not watching another one.
I gave up on the Scream movie.
But if it's that team, then I'm a bit concerned. So
well, they've done. I mean, they did well. The Scream movie.
Well, of course they did.
Massively well. So
yeah.
But there's no details, so it doesn't.
I really enjoyed the first couple of Scream movies. I think they're great.
I do.
It's a cool concept.
The first two, I think, are really good, but
yeah.
The first one certainly holds up really well.
Oh well. Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Do you have an idea of what we're doing next time?
Yeah, I think either should we go with one of the decisions we're going to do the other week? Should we either do Con Air or The Rock?
Oh, that's a tough choice.
You pick which one.
Oh, let's do The Rock.
Okay.
Because Connery.
Yeah.
And you got that really interesting Bond connection, you know?
Movie.
Yeah, you got that Bond theory as well, which I really like about it, and all that stuff. We'll definitely do Con Air soon, though. Don't worry. Con Air's coming back around. The next time we're in the market for a NAF action movie, Con Air, because that is a great movie. I love Con Air. But yeah, okay. Well, we'll be back next week with The Rock. I think probably maybe his most entertaining movie is the movie I probably like the most of his. To be honest,
I think so.
I unashamedly enjoy that trash.
Yeah.
As opposed to his other trash, which I generally don't.
I mean, it's his greatest period, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, he
was still doing big splashy explosion movies.
Yeah,
but they were still relatively well written. I mean, God, have you seen the trailer for that next Transformers movie?
Wow. I saw it just before this show.
What a mess that is!
I know, and I really liked the last one they did.
No idea what was going on in that trailer.
I know. It's back to the Michael Bay stuff.
Flashy splashy shit.
Like that last movie I really enjoyed. It was like a smaller movie, just focusing on Bumblebee. They got rid of all the nonsense, and then they're like, "Oh no, it's Unicron," and I'm like, "Oh God, really? We've already gone back there, have we? We're now back to like this nonsense stuff." It's like, why couldn't you just do another one of those? Paying a nice tribute. It was lovely.
Yep.
Never mind. But yes, in any case, thank you for listening, everybody. We will be back next week with The Rock. And until then, stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you next time.